Fragments of silicon, fragile as always.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me, as always, are Galax and Petty. Let us get to the news. Petty, why don't you start us off this week?
Well, the thing that just happened before we went on air seems the disk drive in my Xbox 360 is dead.
The
Which is
one that you thought you fixed.
yes, the one I thought I fixed, the one that just was replaced by my Jaffster one that I got back when it launched. Yeah, the new Xbox's
So
drive
it
is
might,
kaput.
are you sure it's the drive and not something else?
I hear the drive trying to spin, but it won't read disks.
Ah,
But like I can play my downloaded games just fine. It just won't read a disc.
okay, so it literally is the disk and not, say, the capacitors.
Yeah. So either best case, it's being nearing 20 years old. It's possible the belt just needs replaced, or there's something more mechanically wrong with it. If
Either
I get some time, I might try and tinker with it a little bit. Worst case, I can always see about just biting the bullet and upgrading to a slim, because then I won't have the red ring problem that the white Xbox has had. I'll also have the ability to put in more standard drives with an adapter.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be something I'll look into ideally before the Xbox store closes for good this summer. Just so I can get all my games down and, any other games I so wanted I can grab before the store goes kaput.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, let's see. Still been having a weird issue with my capture card too, where it has a slight buzzing sound. Adding a filter seems to help, but I don't know if there's something mechanically wrong with it or if it's just a driver issue. That's something else I need to tinker with because oh, the joys of running the tech. As far as life stuff goes, Sunday, my sister and I went to another try scuba thing and we enjoyed it. We'd like to see about getting certified, but there are a lot of other life things that need to be taken care of before we can do that. But it's a thing. And we took little Luna to the vet, and her thyroid levels are high again, possibly due to the antibiotics she was on for the lump in her throat. So and they put some steroid injections in the lump, and it has shrunk a lot more. So hopefully we can get that gone and then see about getting her thyroid issues more under control again. So, yay, old kitties.
Mm-hmm.
And then Friday, sometime, we're going to have somebody from the local pool place come by and have a look at what needs to be done with our pool. If it's just, level it out and if they can put a new liner in or if it's something we're going to have to do because there are different kinds of pool liners. Some of them they do, some of them they can just order and have us do. It really depends. So hopefully that's sorted out all well and good on Friday. If we're lucky, they'll come after the podcast, but if it doesn't, I can just, disappear like a ninja.
I mean, let's be honest here. I'm going to be doing most, if not all, of the talking.
Right.
Especially since Galax won't be able to join us, since that particular interview is happening at noon.
Indeed.
I might see if I can be a little bit late that day, but I would not count on it.
Fair.
I'm not. This is me not counting on that.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that's it from me.
Well, Galax, it's your go.
Not too much here. I forget if I mentioned that I need a new office chair, but since I think our boss or our company has sold the old building, they now are getting rid of all the stuff that was left in it, so I might be able to just get a slightly too heavily used chair from there. That might be a good option.
Is this office chair at your desk or office chair for work?
This is office chair for at home. I have an office chair, but I've had it for a long time and it's busted.
Fair.
I've already replaced the armrests twice, and now the one of the corners of the actual cushion is ripping through, and you can feel the wood through it. And the
yeah, I've been there.
The elevation control thing is not as robust as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping to get one that's a little bit less beat up. But otherwise, not too much going on. I have been mostly playing Splatoon 3 because the season ends at the end of this month, and I am not done with the catalog or even the first half of the catalog, which for the second run through of seasons, the second half of the catalog, most of the important stuff has been repeats from previous catalogs. But I'd still like to try to get it because there's a lot of some neat poses and titles and stuff. So that's about what I'm at for video games, I think.
All right. I guess it's my turn. Let me see. So my brother brought his clan up for the weekend. Well, rather Saturday. There's talk about weekend stays in the near future, but let's just see, some things have to happen before that can occur. And his children are getting interested in what we do here. Or rather, they see the Xbox controller and they know what it is. And oh boy, when they learned that I had Among Us on this thing.
Oh God. I'm guessing that's why you were on Among Us.
Yes. Well, it wasn't me on that.
Yeah, that's why.
That was my nephew.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. I was going to ask, and then I realized, oh wait, you have nieces and nephews. They probably came by and wanted to play Among Us. Best to not bother you.
It's fun.
That is literally what happened. And there was fighting over who would get to play as. I forget what the I don't know, what do they call those beans?
I've heard them called beans or crewmates.
Yeah.
They wanted to choose fighting over who got to be red?
Well, who to play? Because remember, it's Among Us. It's not exactly a thing you can do over local multiplayer.
Right.
Like, also, my nephew was teaching me the finer points of something called Aikido or Kaido, or I genuinely don't know how to pronounce this. I'm like
the martial art?
it's some fucking figure thing. Like,
Oh, that.
I'm like, I had to put on a compilation movie. I'm like, it's very much a children's shilling series. You know the type.
Yes.
It's like, think Beyblade or Metabots or even like Pokemon or Digimon at times. Like, although with way, way worse writing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dear God, it's like
Wait, which one is worse?
this Aikido thing,
Oh,
or at
okay.
least the web series, because it's kind of like the exposition in Yu-Gi-Oh. At least the 4Kids Yu-Gi-Oh series. I don't know about how it is these days, but how when they would play a card, it's like,
Everyone has
here
to
is
comment.
yeah, and you get the explanation of what it does and so on and so forth.
Did you know Pot
It's
of Greed lets you draw 2 cards?
yeah, it's exactly that kind of writing. It's like, this is the thing that lets me do +2 damage, and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this one.
I've seen
like-
some things for it, like here and there, because I
Yeah,
too
well-
have a young game age, relative.
How do you spell it?
It's not a game.
I know it's not a
At least-
game, but like in that age bracket where people who would like video games, stuff like that, it's adjacent to that.
Yeah. Like, I can post it in the Discord, whatever, because guess what my recommendations have been filled with after that. Like, so, like, on the other hand, they did watch a whole bunch of Simpsons. I mean,
so you taught them culture.
yes. I mean, granted, we were like, the span of episodes was late season 1 to early season 2, so it's the rougher edges of classic Simpsons, but still, classic Simpsons. Like, and let's see, just a few hours ago, I had to do a meds run, and I forgot to fill one of them, and that took a half an hour.
Oh God.
Waiting. Yeah, it's like they're like, we have 3 of your medications. I'm like, there's 4.
No, the best is when the
we don't have the 4th one.
The best is
Oh,
when
no.
the pharmacy, you tell them to send a refill request to your doctor's office and they don't, and tell them that tell you your doctor's office denied it when they didn't even send it.
Oh God, no!
That's just
the thing
asking for a lawsuit, but that's a story in and of itself.
the thing I was dealing with for a while there was they sent my prescription to different places at like the same time. So, I had the prescriptions at Walgreens, or I would get them called in from this online prescription store at different times, sometimes at once. Like, I still have some pills from one of my medications lying about because there were so many of them.
Damn.
Well, it's also because one of my prescriptions changed. They wanted me to take 3 a day. Turns out I didn't need that. Now I also had a bad reaction. So it's like 1 a day now. Like, anyway, so that was my week. And, well, no, it's interview time. So we welcome once again to our program John Pickett of MangaGamer.
It's good to be back again.
It's always good to have you. So how's fatherhood been treating you?
Oof. So far it's been rough because it's still the first handful of months where the baby just eats, sleeps, and cries. Mostly cries.
Yeah, you wish you'd do more of that, second thing.
He is at least starting to sleep through the night now, which has been, that's been a huge help.
I'm like,
but yeah, no, he's still not really. He's just now starting to be able to see the world around him, and that's about the most he can interact with things at the moment. Is yes, I stare at this. Now I'm sleepy, and I'm hungry. Wah.
right. And I'm sure your sleep schedules are at a premium.
What sleep?
Yeah, that is definitely how the first month and 2 months really felt because he was born a little early. So
yeah. Anyway, so let me see. So this time around, we got how many Higurashi titles are there left before you're done?
So the Higurashi Ho Plus chapters were the last segment of the Higurashi Ho compilation for us to release. So unless they add more or do another remake again,
they go full lore and they loop it again, and you just start screaming internally.
Yeah. Well, because I think Ho was made as with the 10th anniversary or something like that. Or
God,
maybe
it's been 10 years?
It's been over 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, you figure I was playing Higurashi on DS when I was in Japan in 2008.
Good lord.
It's on its I think it's its 20th anniversary actually.
I think more around 15th.
Yeah, I think that's probably it depends. I think it depends on whether you go by when it started or when it finished.
I mean,
major
that is a valid question.
Finished part.
Yeah, well, especially since it was one per comic head, so it's the between the 8 chapters that took around 4 to 8 years to release.
I'm not sure exactly.
I think it was closer to 8 because I don't think because he didn't hit every one of the 2 comic hats. So I think it was close to 8 to release the full game when it was originally released back in the day. I mean, like I said, I was one of the things with the Ho Plus chapters that I was kind of had the pleasure of working on is they actually include the original after game sort of segments. It's just Ryukishi and the creators just sharing all their nonsense of dev talk, and so much of those are them ranting about Ragnarok Online.
God, that's a deep cut.
Not a deep cut. That's a specific.
I had to look up old Ragnarok Online memes in order to translate those sections. The names of words or the shortcuts for the shorthand names for abilities and stupid things you can do in that.
And now we've all been transported back to 2005.
Help, I'm old.
I'm like, how much digging did you have to do on that front? I gotta know.
Quite a bit.
So I had to pull out a web browser from circa 2003 with the right security certificates to get on these sites.
Well, so the thing is, I had to, because I have the Japanese, so it's I have to first tape the Japanese, plug that into Google to basically bring up old Ragnarok Online forums to try and figure out okay, what is this slang actually being used for in game. Like, oh, okay, this is slang for like this attack move or grinding this item, and then I'd have to go and look up whatever the hell it was called in the English version, which was not all like, you know, it would not all because it was slang. So it's like it's not like that's kind of thing. Like I have to like first I have to decode the Japanese slang to figure out what the actual like item is, and then use the like item name to find the English item name, and then find the English slang name. Luckily, one of our programmers, the programmer that's actually working on Higurashi, he was huge in Ragnarok Online back in the day. So when I was done, I basically told him like, "Hey,
bro, proof this for me, please."
Yeah, like please take a look at these scripts while you're coding them into the game, and let me know if there's anything like right or if anything seems off. And
did I do this right? Like one of the fucking kids, or you know, like one of the old people trying to do slang for kids, and you're like, did I get this right?
Yeah. I did a pretty decent job. I think there's only like 2 things I had to correct, and it was after getting his input, and that's just because it's like I would not have thought of whatever they decided to use in English for that term.
So, putting aside Ragnarok Online, what's in Ho Plus here?
So there's 3 main chapters, if I remember correctly. There's the there's the Hinamizawa bus stop, which is so the Hinamizawa bus stop is a visual novel adaptation of the original screenplay that Ryukishi wrote, which basically became the prototype for the entire Higurashi series. So to kind of rephrase that, like Ryukishi first wrote Hinamizawa Bus Stop as a screenplay for like to be performed on stage in a theater. And from there he ended up expanding it out into the huge franchise that we now know as Higurashi. And so the chapter in Hinamizawa Bus Stop is that original screenplay pretty much as is, just coded into a visual novel and with as the kind of sprites and sounds you expect from a visual novel in there. But it's like, yeah, if anyone playing it would like actually takes the time to, you know, sit down and copy the lines or whatever, you can actually use that as a screenplay to put on a performance if someone desired, which maybe they will. That's one of the chapters in Ho. And then the other is trying to remember the name of it. Outbreak. The Higurashi Outbreak. And so the story for Higurashi Outbreak is was originally the story for the Dojin soft battle royale game known as Higurashi Daybreak. And the idea in Outbreak is the government detects the virus outbreak in Hinamizawa, and they quarantine the entire fucking village. So,
I mean, as one should after the shit that went down there.
Yeah. Well, like, this is before, like, the people start killing each other like they do in the end of chapter 6, basically. It's basically, like, that's kind of the idea of the storyline in Outbreak is, like, yeah, if the government was called in to, like, quarantine and provide aid, like, before shit got bad. And so a lot of that chapter, it's kind of a mix of, like, people just, like, growing antsy and growing crazy because they're all forced to stay at home for several weeks, growing on months. Not a familiar story to
Yeah, I was
anyone at
about to
all by
say,
this point.
can we roll back the clock 4 years?
Now, keep in mind, Outbreak was written like a decade before COVID.
I mean, that would have been like I think during the SARS outbreak in Asia.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But
yeah, yeah, it's about that time. Probably, yeah.
yeah, but so there's that chapter, and it also adds the chapter Kamikashimashi, which is basically the conclusion of Higurashi Outbreak, and in that one, it really gets into the interactions between the different deities, like Hanyu. I mean, people that are already, this is kind of a little bit of a spoiler, but people familiar with the franchise are probably aware of Hanyu and what her deal is. And in Kamikashimashi, we basically see two more like her get involved. And that kind of very much sort of expands the worldview a bit. And then in the Plus version, which is basically the updated version that came out after we first licensed Higurashi Ho, before we got to releasing these chapters. So that is, we were able to include that new chapter as well. That one is Higurashi when they cry Mehagashi. Basically, if people are familiar with the OVA where Keiichi wore the like swim trunks that caused everyone to go crazy, the story is very similar to that. The girls all get magic swimsuits that just completely charm everyone around them, and if they aren't destroyed, it will destroy the universe. And so Keiichi has to go strip them of these swimsuits while they're enjoying a day at the pool.
Of
Yeah,
course,
sounds about right.
It is the most absolute like slapstick, hilarious comedy that you expect from all the lighthearted moments of Higurashi.
Yes, comedy was what I was expecting.
I mean, that was what it was first, and then shit got real.
Yeah,
Fair. It is
and
a bit hard to remember that.
Well, because it's always still has its comedic parts. It's always kind of stroke a balance between them, because that's one thing that Ryukishi does very well. Is it's just the horror doesn't sink in as well without that like baseline humanizing of the characters to start with.
Also, apparently the artwork was updated to this for this.
Yes, we had a artist basically redraw sprites for the entire Higurashi Ho release, including the new characters in the Higurashi Ho chapters. The original artwork is still included, so when people play the game, you can just pick between which one you want to use, same as you can pick between English and Japanese.
I was about to say, it's like, is it really Higurashi without the signature character designs, let's say?
Yeah, the big giant sphere hands.
Among other things. Like, Higurashi's art is, if nothing else, distinct.
That's one way to put it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There are many things that can be said about the original artwork of Higurashi. I will say I appreciate that it is done so well, considering pretty much like one man and a couple of his friends did the whole thing.
Right. Anyway, so apparently this is setting the sun on the Higurashi franchise until it isn't.
Yeah, I was about to say, temporarily.
Yes, until Ryukishi decides to release more Higurashi, this is the last of it.
Hey, with that, then we move
Meanwhile, as
forward.
one monkey paw curls.
Yes. Or it
Well,
turns
yeah,
out,
there's others. There's work. I don't know. I think he's still working on Kikonia. That's
well,
the
yeah,
new franchise that he started.
well, yeah, and have you finished all of Umineko yet?
We did release we did release all 8 chapters of Umineko.
Okay. Once
I have
again,
not
it's a bit hard
personally played them, but
to. Well, I'm like, that takes some dedication, doesn't it?
yeah.
Anyway, moving away from these franchises, if you will, and into, well, more standalone work, we've got Sona ni Refrain.
Sona Neil, yeah. This is
Sona
actually
Neil.
this is actually part of Lyresoft steampunk franchise. It's the same world as Gokthun of the Golden Lightning.
I stand corrected then. Granted, I don't think I would have been able to parse that out at first glance.
No, they do a very good job of keeping a lot of the steampunk series stories very self-contained. But there is like slight connections to them that tie them into each other. So, and they're all, like I said, all the games in the steampunk series are tied in with the setting, which is this sort of historical fiction that combines Lovecraftian mythos to create a steampunk world.
Mm-hmm. And are there any actual connections in Sona Nil to the rest of the steampunk franchise directly, or is it just
Absolutely. It's just that most of the direct connections between Soda Neil and the rest of the games in the franchise, you see during the epilogues that are part of the Refrain chapters.
So I suppose that begs the question: what's going on in this particular title?
Yeah. So in this title follows, technically follows 2 women. One is Lily, the other is Alicia, and these 2 women are essentially 2 sides of the same coin. Lily is a resident of the underground, this version of New York City that has been completely warped and twisted and banished beneath the earth, where people now live under a violet sky, and there are these creatures known as emissaries or messengers that frequently attack the populace, and no one dies from the attacks, but the places, but it still costs them. The places that they're injured are, like, when they come back from death, the places they are injured are frequently now converted to metal, and some of their memories or their ability to feel emotions will be gone. The other character, Alicia, is a former student who is traveling through the ruins of New York on the surface of the world. As far as everyone in the world is concerned, New York City has been completely obliterated and destroyed in a cataclysmic event that took place several years ago. And so she is walking through these ruins while Lily is traveling through the current version of New York City that exists. Lily is trying to make her way to the heights of the violet sky, the ends of the violet sky, led by this mysterious man known only as A. And the Alicia is trying to uncover the mystery behind the ruined city of New York, how it came to be, and there's a couple other things she's searching for as well, but I don't want to get too far into it lest I start spoiling.
Right.
There's-
So, I suppose we get to the question that needs to be so often asked of the various titles that we get to showcase. How libidinous does this one get?
So the Steam version is pretty much free of adult content unless you use the adult patch available on our website. There is a number of adult scenes. They are very much meant to expand upon the characters, the stories, the relations between the characters. For those that have played Gokthun of the Golden Lightning, you can expect an equivalent level of sex to be involved in the storyline.
Hmm. And what type of sex are we talking about here? Once again, we always have to ask because, once again, there's such a variety that you publish.
Yeah, this is, I would say it's generally speaking, more, I would call it vanilla. There are some of the scenes, there are aspects that people may or may not decide to disagree with me on that on, like when one of the characters is trying to make love to her former partner who has become almost entirely metal at this point and can only really emotionally respond to it through echoes and remembrances of how he used to feel. Or like there's one scene where a character is very much turning to a prostitute that he's visited many times before to try and kind of like sate and quell his fears, and you get a glimpse of kind of the relationship between those two and how they're both providing emotional comfort for each other even in that twisted sort of relationship that they have.
I'm like, have these disagreements been internal or external? I wonder.
You see, I mean, a lot of it is you see it a lot through character monologue, some through character speech as well. So
okay,
it handles the characters. I would say it handles the characters with a very sort of sense of appropriate touch, at least a very appropriate touch.
And what level of interactivity does this title have? Like, is it just pure story? Do you make choices?
Yeah, so the story is mostly linear. There are a couple different endings based on the choices you make throughout the game. There's also a couple mini games that you do have to kind of do well at to get the quote unquote true ending. But it is for the most part linear.
And how much voice acting does this have?
It is fully voiced.
That would explain the price. Because it's clocking in at $34.99 here. Which usually says this is pretty stuffed with either songs, voice acting, full CG, or all of the above.
It has a very lengthy story as well, so you're going to get quite a few hours out of it.
No doubt. And finally, for this time around, we got at the very least the Steam release of Wanting Wing.
Yes, that is a Yuri title that has been available on our website for several years at this point already. We were recently able to make some cuts to the original to allow us to release it on Steam, along with, I believe we also released it with a Chinese translation on Steam. And there is an adult patch on our website. But yeah, we were very glad to add that title to Steam. It's quite a fun Yuri title. I think we talked about it on the show before, but I suppose for those who missed that episode, it's very much a Yuri title between focuses on three main characters, and one of the main appeals is that the choices you make as you go through the story determines which of those two end up as the couple. And it can be kind of any combination of the three.
No polycule?
No, I don't think.
I guess it wasn't sophisticated enough to approach that particular venue, but be that as it may. So, this is a romance visual novel, then.
Yes.
Hey, good to know. And I suppose we should ask, what exactly did you have to cut in order to make it onto Steam?
Sex scenes.
I mean, obviously.
Usual.
Yeah, obviously.
That's pretty much it.
I mean,
that was pretty much it.
Were they having problems with the characters, or did they not tell you as usual?
No, it's just it's just one. No, I mean, we just pretty much just had to cut the sex scenes, and then we were able to get it out. It's just we hadn't tried when we first released it because it's technically set in a boarding school, and so we had kind of originally assumed that it would just automatically fail, even if we did. But it managed to go through, so.
Interesting. Yes.
Best not question it.
Yeah. The Steam can change their mind, you know.
something they already have on some games.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. How many years ago was that?
Yeah. So I'd say we've been there when that happened. We have that argument on file.
Yeah, the expression omrilato, which didn't even have sex scenes.
Right.
God, it's almost like we've been here before.
Yes. And we do not wish to be here again. But, you know, the Steam giveth and the Steam taketh away.
Yep.
Anyway.
Speaking of Steam, we are also, I believe we also just, last Friday, we added a Chinese language option to our release of Hashihime.
Simplified or unsimplified?
It's all Chinese to me. No,
Oh.
no. That's rude of me to say. No, it's it's both simplified and traditional.
Hmm. So what do you have upcoming?
So we don't have release dates for them yet because we're still waiting on some responses from the developers. But most likely, our next release is going to be Rail Lore.
Hmm.
That is our game from the the Pillagers of Rail Lore from Third Eye. It's the same company that did Sorcery Jokers. Very much sort of a fantasy toony action tale. So I look forward to when we will be releasing that.
Hmm. Anything else?
Well, we are we are on the programming stage of Clock Up's of our next title from Clock Up, Dead Days. That is also penned by the same author of Maggot Baits. So that is one for fans of Clock Up's games and their darker titles. That is going to be a good one for people to look forward to with its story. Again, we'll be able to talk more about that when it's getting closer. We don't have a release date on that yet.
All right. I think that'll about do it for this time, John. And as always, it's good to have you on the program to talk about the various, visual novel projects you got going on.
Yeah.
And we look forward to our next encounter. Let's say maybe April 3rd. I suppose that's depending on whether or not those upcoming visual novels actually get release dates or not. But
yeah. Okay. I'll pen it in for now. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Petty, play us to the next segment. All right, welcome to the topic of discussion for the week. So there's a lot we could be talking about, but we're saving that for next week when whatever Microsoft wants to talk about becomes official.
Yeah, next week or asterisk whenever the official things go out.
As far as talking about last week's state of play, ultimately passed on that because honestly it wasn't that interesting.
Yeah. Except for this.
Yeah. Because Sega announced that Sonic Generations is getting a remaster slash Super Mario 3D World's styling here. We're getting a new episode of Shadow the Hedgehog. Honestly, they didn't really give us a whole lot of detail on what Shadow is going to be doing.
Yeah, we don't know if this is going to be kind of like episode Shadow in Sonic Forces where he's just kind of there for a couple levels, and then if you want to, you can kind of switch Sonic skin to play as him later on, but that's about it.
Right. And that is a concern because, this could very much be Sega using Hedgehog to, just sell copies. It's the Wolverine effect.
Mm-hmm.
I think they literally call that phenomenon the Wolverine effect. It's like, hey, Wolverine's on the cover. He appears in like 2 scenes at most.
Mm-hmm.
Because character is popular and people will buy said product if they see him on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's the logic. I'm like, granted, seeing covers is a bit more difficult these days, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, and a topic that'll make me need some more depression medicine.
It's gonna come up next week because
I'm aware.
because Microsoft's physical publishing is just completely imploded.
Mm-hmm. Well, also
But
places like Best Buy are getting rid of their physical media entirely.
Anyway, so Sonic Generations, generally considered to be, if not the high point, or it's either that or Sonic Colors of the last wave of Sonic is good again, actually,
Mm-hmm.
initiative.
Yeah, Day Unleashed, Sonic Colors, and Generations were like the last 3 good Sonic games. Note I said Day Unleashed. We'll get into Werehog someday. That day is not today.
Mostly, because yeah. Anyway, so Sonic Generations was a celebration of all things Sonic up to that point.
Yep.
Which is a change from what you'd see today, because I don't think anyone would argue on me that Sonic has really bent into the Genesis era nostalgia pandering, probably ever since Mania did bonkers numbers.
Yeah, I mean, debatably since Generations.
Right, but once again, Sonic Generations wasn't just about the 16-bit titles.
Yeah.
Now, we did have the 16-bit pandering going on at that particular moment in time, because this is also around the time that Sonic 4 was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just Sonic 4 was fucking terrible.
Sonic 4 was Sonic 4, my guy. And oof.
Yeah. Well, Sonic 4 Part 1 was Sonic 1, but awful. Sonic and Part 2 was Sonic 2, but awful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do want to clarify on that.
I mean, Sonic 2, some of the stuff with Tails was nifty in short bursts, but it got old.
Yeah. Sonic Generations was also some of the dialing back of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right.
First of all, dialing back his Dark Age bullshit.
Well, most of the friends are there. I'm not talking about
the friends. I'm talking about the tone that Sonic 2006 and Sonic Unleashed had. It's like, we're going to try and be big boy grown-up games with fancy intricate stories and realistic looking graphics, especially Sonic 2006.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of 06, but Unleashed wasn't bad.
Well,
I wouldn't say it was great, but it wasn't bad.
Well, Unleashed's tone was weird, because on the one hand, they dialed back the realistic graphics of 2006, and we got very cartoony human models in this one, and just a very goofy atmosphere in the day. But on the other hand, you had Sonic maybe at his most super serious. I mean, Sonic personally with the fucking Werehog shit. We're talking Jack 2 levels of edge.
Yeah, maybe. It's been a while since I've replayed, story
Look,
replayed Unleashed.
if Sonic the Hedgehog had announced in Unleashed that he was gonna fucking kill Dr. Robotnik, I would have believed it, especially at the beginning there.
Probably. I need to get my Xbox fixed now, don't I?
I mean, you can go and watch the opening cutscene on YouTube.
I mean, if I did that, I'd be too busy jamming at the opening theme, though.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, fair.
And I'm not talking about the opening, the music. I'm talking about the cutscene that plays before. When he gets turned into the werehog.
Yeah.
And it's all presented super fucking serious that Dr. Robotnik's going to destroy the Earth. Like, it's just so overwrought. Like, it's like, I'm just like, leave that edgelord shit to Shadow.
Yeah, there's a reason why after Generations they changed the writing team.
Right. Like, now Generations is a much more discombobulated sort of affair.
Generations still had Keller's, some of the people from Keller's working on it. I think they were some of the Archie comic devs or writers at least collaborated on it.
Possibly, but here's the thing: like, Sonic Generations has probably the biggest excuse plot in the history of the franchise, at least mainline stuff.
Right.
Like, I can't even really say there's a plot going on. It's just
Sonic's at his 20th birthday party, somehow gets trapped in a time bubble.
Space-time breaks, and now he has to, fix it.
And he's with his classic self.
Yeah. It's like, and this is the first time that we get modern Sonic and classic Sonic. Back when, first that was a novelty, and two, they didn't hook up the controls of classic Sonic.
Yeah, I know I ranted on this, but ever since after Generations, classic Sonic gameplay has felt like they put 2 bags of bricks inside of Sonic, and I hate it.
Well, granted, the next time we would see classic Sonic in this style was Sonic Forces. And Sonic Forces is Sonic Forces.
Yeah. Sonic controls like a brick shithouse.
Yeah. But Sonic Generations classic Sonic actually controls well.
Yeah, like classic Sonic should.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also because there's more of a distinction between the two styles. Granted, even Generation Sonic did have a bit of an issue with keeping Sonic 3D. Like, there's still a fair amount of 2D sections in modern Sonic.
Yeah. And especially the boost era, it was a lot of just boost to win and, the drift mechanic.
Yeah. Of course, once again, the big selling point of this Sonic title was the fan service. Though the fan service wasn't really in, say, the characters, because most of the characters were the same characters that had the regular cast of that point in time, which also included the likes of Blaze the Cat.
Yeah, Generations was when Generations was stage fan service. It was, hey, remember this stage wasn't that cool? 11 times. Before they started doing that in every Sonic game.
Right, and once again, Sonic Generations, if nothing else, was a celebration of everything mainline Sonic at that point in time. So we even got levels on Sonic 2006 and Sonic Unleashed, 2 Sonic games that Sega would be very low to acknowledge these days.
Unleashed
And
Day
one of
they
which
still
didn't even canonically
acknowledge.
happen.
It's the Werehog ones that they really are iffy on acknowledging.
I'm like,
Yeah, Sonic
why
Unleashed's daytime stages are actually generally pretty well regarded, I think.
Yeah.
Paul, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about well regarded. I'm talking about Sega acknowledging it. Hint: let me know when they fucking remade Unleashed.
Oh yeah,
Then we'll talk.
I would love for them to remake Unleashed, but with Generations happening, Generations is basically the Hedgehog engine 2.0. It was built off Generations engine and like
Unleashed.
Unleashed engine, thank you. And there's like no real reason unless people want the Werehog for Unleashed to be remade.
Yeah. Anyway,
But,
point is,
yeah.
I mean, it was a bit unusual for Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Colors to be represented in this game, just on an objective basis, because those games were like 2 years old, a year old when this originally came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so there wasn't a lot of nostalgic value for those games at that point in time. But once again, that wasn't the point.
I guess the only
was
reason I could see them being there because they were built in that engine. It's just an easy side port to put them in.
It's one reason. But the other one is because, once again, every mainline Sonic game, or at least what they consider to be a mainline Sonic game, got representation.
Yeah. Like, we didn't see Seven Rings, Black Knight, because those aren't mainline.
Yeah. And probably most conspicuously absent from the level list here is anything from Sonic CD.
Yeah,
now,
the
Sonic
only CD reference we have is you can fight metal in.
Yeah.
Is it Stardust Speedway?
Wasn't that kind of one of the we're pretending everything between Sonic 1 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles, except for the numbered games, didn't exist, period?
No, because they had just re-released Sonic CD.
Yeah, the Whitehead CD version. Like, probably one of the best Genesis upres ports ever.
And that one actually escaped mobile until, back then.
Mm-hmm.
I still have my Steam copy of that.
Same.
Anyway, so in terms of the actual level list, or on the HD version at least, because there are actually 2 Sonic generations.
Yep.
There's the HD version for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and Microsoft Windows. And then there's the Nintendo 3DS version, which is its own original game.
Mm-hmm. Do we ever find out if it was actually done by Dimps or not?
It was done by Dimps. Same developer. Dimps was the regular developer of the Portable Sonic game.
Right.
So very much in their wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so the big issue people had with the level selection was a lot of repeats, in a manner of speaking, because you had Green Hill was represented here, and this is before everyone got tired of Green Hill.
Yeah, because up until this point, we hadn't seen Green Hill until the the special test level of SA2.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way to get that is you got every emblem in the game.
And you don't get a lot of repeats here, but I'd say a lot of the 3D Sonics, we got Speed Highway, we got City Escape, we got Seaside Hill, we got Crisis City, we got Rooftop Run, we got Planet Wisp. There's a lot of the same kind of type of 3D Sonic levels.
Yeah, your opening levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like mainly because these were done via fan poll, and what's the level that is going to be most played? It's like it's not all the time. Now, like the Sonic and Knuckles representation. Okay, first of all, this should have been split. There should have been a Sonic 3 level, and there should have been a Sonic and Knuckles level. But
also, the fact they didn't put in Ice Cap is a travesty, but that's...
Well, yeah. Well, that's why this is Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because they put in Sky Sanctuary. Okay, seriously, what the... Why Sky Sanctuary?
I love the music from Sky Sanctuary, but that's about it. There are much better gameplay levels.
Right. Granted, it isn't a travesty to all mankind.
Yeah, there's a balance between what's the best level gameplay wise versus what has the best set pieces versus what has like best music and aesthetic.
I'm just saying Sandopolis didn't get voted in. I think I would have had to cut someone.
Well, Sandopolis isn't the best at anything.
Yeah.
No, Sandopolis is fucking garbage.
I mean, if they did away with that timer mechanic, it could be interesting, but that timer mechanic is what kills it.
Yeah. I'm like, Lava Reef isn't too good either.
Yeah.
But Sky Sanctuary is just a bit baffling, since that's like the storyline, one of the storyline levels. Yeah, it's like it's a good atmosphere, but
good atmosphere.
Really?
Probably one of the best, Genesis era classic songs.
Yeah. And this is also where we get the Chemical Plant Zone getting revived and then subsequently run into the ground like Green Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it is worth noting that this game wasn't at all kind to the spin-off. It wasn't really interested in doing the deep cuts like Sonic Mania was.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic Mania, there wasn't a deep cut that it didn't like. I think with Sonic Generations, I think it went down to acknowledging that Team Chaotix existed.
Mm-hmm. Well, was this one that had the wanted posters of? Was it Bean?
I'm not sure.
Or it might have been
Fang. Was
it
Bean or was it Mighty and Ray?
I don't think it was. It might have been Mighty and Fang.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's also like the deepest cut we get.
Yeah. And I remember another disappointment people had with Sonic Generations was, if you can believe this, a lack of DLC. Now, it's like, I can explain that. It's because people assumed, probably wrongly, that Sega was going to do what they did for Sonic Frontier.
Well, Unleashed actually had bonus level packs.
Well, Sonic Generations did have DLC as well. It had the Casino Night Zone level pack, which honestly was pretty lame.
Yeah.
But it's more, people wanted more levels. Based off of, they didn't just want the one level per, it's like, okay, that was fine for the base. But, people wanted, like Ice Cap.
Yeah, Ice Cap or Launch Base or
Spring Yard.
Spring Yard would have been fun. Scrap Brain.
Yeah, Scrap Brain. Not Oil Ocean. I'm trying. Definitely not Metropolis Zone. I think people would have rioted if they had brought in Metropolis Zone. Mystic Cave. There we go.
Mystic
That's
Cave was fun, yeah.
Like,
that beach, the first beach level from Sonic 06 wasn't god awful.
right. Point is, people wanted more levels to go through, and they never got that.
Or hell, even some more Sonic Advance representation. Or not Sonic Advance, Sonic Adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm like, any sort of Sonic Advance representation would be a good mention. Because, like, those were... Or Sonic Rush.
Oh, yeah.
It's like... seeing those in 3D.
Didn't they do some kind of, like, Advance or Rush stuff in the 3DS version?
Don't know. Like, it is important to note that the 3DS version did have different levels.
Yes.
Outside of Green Hills Zone being represented in both versions. But the 3DS had Casino Night, Mushroom Hill, Emerald Coast, Radical Highway, Water Palace, and Tropical Resort. It also lacks levels from 2006 and Sonic Unleashed. Not too surprising there, since Hedgehog, 2006 and Unleashed didn't get 3DS versions. Sonic Colors does have a 3DS version, so they just cut and paste. Now, another concern about the remaster of Sonic Generations is, are they going to fuck this up? Because, I can acknowledge...
Okay, point to maybe.
Yeah. Because, Sega don't have a great track record with the remastering recently. At least not with the Sonic titles. Like, they fucked up on Sonic Colors very impressively. And Sonic Sonic Origins. That was inexplicably fucked up as well.
Well, I think from what I saw with Origins, people were more mad they delisted the original versions to make you buy Origins.
Well, that was one reason. It's also because Origins, the physics were fucked up. Especially, it depended on the version, but like the PC version was pretty unplayable for a while there. As was the Nintendo Switch versions. And that seems to be the platforms they fuck up the worst.
Which kind of makes sense. It is weaker, but...
Well, Sonic Colors was a very interesting case because the porting house, Blind Squirrel Games, in order to bring that to modern consoles, they used the Godot engine. Like, the Godot engine is wholly unsuited for that kind of task.
Right.
Which is why they ran into so many problems, especially on the Nintendo Switch, which I'm not sure what the support level was on that, but it was less than ideal. I do remember that. Anyway, so, the remaster is set to come out at the holiday season, I believe.
Autumn this year.
So presumably we will get more information on the episode of Shadow in the meantime, because that seems to be the real big selling point, other than having Sonic Generations on the modern console.
And I guess something to note, judging by Sega's track record, if you want the original version of Generations on PC, grab it now.
Yep. And it's important to grab that now, because much like the Sonic Sega Genesis games on Steam, the big reason to own those is the modding scene. The modding scene has done some pretty amazing things with Sonic Generations over the years, including adding all of the Sonic Unleashed daytime stages to the PC version of Unleashed.
Again, because it's fucking the Unleashed engine.
Right. Like, it wasn't hard.
Yeah. They literally just had to go grab a Xbox 360 disc and go rip the assets out.
Mm. Yeah, in fact, I think that those showed up fairly soon after the game got released on Windows.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we are coming to the end of another episode of Fragments Silicon. Let's see. So be sure to tune in, in about, let's say, half an hour ish on Moonhawk Studios Presents. It was looking dicey there for a bit of time because Mac's never-ending roller coaster of a life. But that seems to be squared away, so knock on wood. Like, if nothing else, Eddie will host here, but it should be okay. Anyway, coming up on Friday, January 19th, at noon time, we will be attempting to interview Joe Humphrey of Inkle again. Like, hopefully, we don't have any miscreants playing Lumberjack again. And until next time, coming up on the Sunday reviews, we got Fast Beat Loop Racer GT, Ruiner Victory, Rogue, and Morkred. So until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.